Welcome to Clarity in Action. This is the show where we have real conversations that are going to challenge your perspectives and drive real action. So if you are tired of holding back and you're ready to make bold moves, this is the show for you. Join us as we are going to take you from confusion into clarity. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Clarity in Action. I am your host, Clara Capano, and I have the amazing Raymond here with me today, who has become one of my dear friends, and we are going to be talking about the power in preparing. So, one of the things, Del, that we talk a lot about in being high performing is I think we get into this mindset of, oh, we've got to get up and we've got to do the grind. And many times when we're doing that, all we're doing is focusing on what's in front of us today. One of the things that you have learned is the power of preparation, so that you're not only showing up with more intention today, but it's helping you to also build a business for tomorrow. So I would love to ask, before I hear about your personal story, I just would love to just hear from a 30,000 foot view, why is preparing so important for people, especially entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so it's so easy to be drug into the right now, the day to day, the immediate thing that's grabbing your attention. And if you don't have a schedule, if you're not prepared, you don't have a timeline built out, it's so easy to get distracted. And by the end of your day, you're questioning, what did I get done? Was I productive? And that can spiral into a couple of days. It can spiral into weeks. So building out that schedule in advance, understanding what time you do have and what time you don't have, I think is extremely important in making sure that you can keep track and measure your success.
Yeah. It reminds me of, I believe the quote is that success happens when it's opportunity and preparation together. And
Yes.
again, if you're not prepared for the opportunities, things will fall through the cracks. So tell us a little bit more about you and your personal story on how you learned the importance of preparing.
Yeah, so I've been an entrepreneur for about 13 years now. And very early on, I recognized the importance of it. I came from a sales background, so I worked corporate sales, commission only sales. I sold advertising for a period of time. And so I've always had, or at least for the last 22 years, I've had a version of a book of business, right? So I've constantly had to go after clients and build my timeline and my lead generation. So managing time, I'm a mom of 3 kids, and taking care of them and their schedules have caused me to live by a schedule. I often say my life is scheduled to a degree. So time management has been something that's been extremely important in keeping me personally and emotionally on track. I found that if I don't have that schedule, things just go wayward. I feel off kilter. So it's been about 20 years. I would say refining that schedule has really been in the last probably 10 to 15 years. I changed careers. I became my own entrepreneur before I was 100% commission. And so while I had a book of business, I was still not clocking in, but I was managed. And so moving from that to being my own personal entrepreneur, I've had to really sit back and look at the business of my business, and then also how I'm touching people. So I would say reading a lot of books, Atomic Habits, and a few other books have really helped shape my understanding and prioritizing of a schedule.
Yeah. One of the things I always find, and it kind of makes me giggle with especially entrepreneurs, is, they created their businesses because they want to be in control. They want to have flexibility and freedom and nobody telling them what to do. The problem is we need someone telling us what to do because it's far too easy to get pulled off track. I would love to talk about how this helps you to deliver better service to your clients and how being prepared, because, we want to be able to deliver that experience. We want to become a trusted advisor, regardless of what industry you're in. But if you're running things haphazardly, that doesn't build a lot of confidence in the people you work with.
Yeah. Systems, right? Systems are the way to go, and building something out where you've got a playbook, if you will, for each category of service for me, I've got different client types. And so I've got a different system for each of those client types. And so the idea is that I want to create something that can be duplicated time and time again and make sure that everyone's having the same experience. What that also does for me is if I've got a system, I've got checklists, I use Google Docs for a lot of my playbook systems. And it allows me to pass that off to someone if I need support in any way and make sure that my clients are all being served in the same way. And it also cuts back on time. I don't have to think about what I'm going to do for that client because it's already laid out for me. So if anything, I'm refining it, but the playbook, the plan of action on how I treat that client from start to finish is already there. And that just helps save me so much time.
Yeah. And I love how you talk about saving the time. I also want to say that in saving the time, it also saves energy. There's something out there
Yes.
called decision fatigue. And when you have these systems in place, when you have these checklists, your brain doesn't have to recreate the wheel every time. So it actually frees your brain up to
Yes.
focus on higher level things. Have you experienced that?
100%. So, as you were saying that, I thought that this all came to a head. So, systems and playbooks were not in my early career.
Mhm.
This has come together and come to fruition in the last 2 or 3 years. I just had some really big life events that pulled me in directions outside of my business. And as an entrepreneur, when life happens, and you don't have a good system, that could make or break your ability to sustain. And so I
Mhm.
found myself faced with some very urgent matters that I needed to attend to that pulled me away from business. And at that point, not that I hadn't heard it before, but it didn't really, the light bulb didn't come on until, I was in the 11th hour and I realized, oh crap, if I don't come up with a plan and have someone in my place, I could potentially come back home from all of these life events and have to start from ground zero. So,
Mhm.
yes, time is definitely one of those components, but that energy and that mental fatigue is real. And I think any entrepreneur, regardless of the business category that you're in, experiences that. There's so many decisions to make in a day, personally as well as professionally, that if
Yep.
you can cut, even one thing out of your schedule, I think it makes a huge difference. I've even thought about wearing the same thing to work every day, getting my own
Mhm.
business uniform so that I don't even have to
Yep.
think about what I'm going to put on.
Well, again, that's why, people like Steve Jobs was the same thing. I was
Exactly.
like, I don't want to have to worry about it
Yeah.
and doing that. I want to kind of flip over, and you brought this up earlier in the conversation when you said, your life is scheduled. That
Mhm.
is one of the things I think people skip over the most is they are working so much, but as a society, we are burned out more than ever before. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's not getting any better. In fact, I think on many levels, it's getting worse.
Yeah.
This is something that you have said, having these systems, it allows you to be able to make space so that you can fight burnout or prevent burnout as much as possible. Can you talk a little bit about how having this really has helped you live your life more? Again, you mentioned you're the mom of 3 kids.
Mhm.
You have a couple great vacations coming up. How does preparing and having systems help you in life?
Yeah. Again, this is something that has been a learned moment for me over the years. And again, the event that I had gone through a couple of years ago just really helped me put a lot of things in perspective. I spend a lot of time with my kids, but I'm not always present. So I'm there, I'm volunteering, I'm in these places, but there's no doubt that my phone, as I look at it over here, I've been tethered to it quite a bit. In the
Mhm.
last couple of years, I've just decided to set it aside and choose, right? So some of this is just simply choosing. So I choose to just be with my kids, be with my family, be with my clients, be present without being tethered
Yep.
to the device. So it has really improved my quality of life to decide that, okay, my work hours are from A to Z. Entrepreneurs often want to keep the lights on 24 hours a day. And I was, definitely one of those. And I've found value in separating the two, business and pleasure. And that's really made a difference. In addition to that, staying healthy, I prioritize my activity. I find that I'm a much better person in general, but definitely more energized when I come home to my kids when I've exercised, walking 30 minutes or just moving my body. But I'm a very active person. I like tennis. I like pickleball. I like to do yoga. And those things really feed me. And they're just a safe place that I can go to where it's just all about me. I don't have to worry about my children. I don't have to worry about my clients, my business. So really compartmentalizing the business from the me time, the personal self-care, and from the family time has made a huge difference in how I personally feel about my quality of life over the last couple of years.
And again, when you have those systems, it's something that you mentioned duplicatable, also something you can hand off. I think the reason that people are so afraid when they go on vacation, they're always taking their laptops with them, is because they're afraid things are going to fall apart. But
Yeah.
when you have systems, it's
Yeah.
easier because everything is followed. The way that I always look at it is, I remember when I was pregnant with my son, my doctor told me from the start, this is your due date.
Mhm.
If, however, you go into labor and I'm not on call, you're going to see one of my team members.
Yeah.
That was their system. It wasn't like I had the opportunity to be like, oh no, I need
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
It's having that trust and that confidence and setting the expectations. And
Mhm.
is this something, has having systems and being more prepared helped you in also laying out expectations with your clients?
Yes, with my clients, with my children, with
Mhm.
myself. I have been known to be the meme that you see on social media of the person that's sitting poolside on their computer working while on vacation with a Mai Tai, So
Mhm.
this is not a Mai Tai, by the way, it's iced tea, but
No judgment here.
a little early. But I used to be that person. And I get it. I know why we get into that space and why we are so connected to being the person. I want to be the go-to person. No one can do it the way that I do it. Well, that was my mindset. And I've slowly realized, I would love to say quickly, but I've slowly realized that I can provide excellent service without it being me. If I create the right standard of care, if I put the right people around me, I can still provide a certain level of a service for my client and manage their expectations. I can provide a level of service to my clients that they don't feel neglected because I've decided that I'm going to leave for a vacation with my family. But that took a long time for me to adopt and accept. I think I pretty much just thought that I had to be the one to do it all. And I've always been that person. I've always been someone who wants to take care of everything, take care of people, be the problem solver, be the source. And there's only so much that you can do. And so I'm really adopting the idea that if I prepare, I plan, I create a level of systems, I can then confidently do the things that are going to keep me healthy and around long, both in business as well as in my personal life.
And you still can be the go-to person. You still
Yes.
can be the problem solver. And actually, you can do it at a higher level
Mhm.
because it's that old adage where even though you can do something, that doesn't mean as the CEO of your business, the CEO of your role in your business, you should be doing everything.
Yeah.
And I want to bring this back because as you've done this and you said, this is a journey, you've
Mhm.
slowly learned this and it's always evolving. One of the other things you do is you're a mentor, and
Yeah.
you are taking a lot of the knowledge and a lot of these lessons and imparting it on the next generation coming behind you. So
Yeah.
how are you guiding, coaching, teaching these people to lay these systems and to have them learn from you?
Yeah. Well, as a funny, I think I said to them last week, do as I say, not as I do, which is, but I'm doing my best. It's always a process. But
Mhm.
the beauty of being a mentor, I truly enjoy working with new entrepreneurs and supporting them in their journey and helping them guide and learn from my mistakes. And here are some best practices, etc. Uh, I also find that I'm constantly learning something new every time I show up for them. I'm
Mhm.
also grabbing something for myself. So, uh, they help me stay accountable to the things that I preach. And if I decide I want to slip a little bit or maybe not perform in the way that I need to or I know I need to, I'm reminded that I am an example to 20 people. And it is very important that I lead by example. But I do still use the old parent adage, do as I say, not as I do.
Well, but that's a beautiful thing too, because they see it. They see it
Mhm.
in real time. They see that we're not perfect and we always have to be reminded. And for anybody that's following this, I do encourage them to some on some level be a mentor to someone because it
Yeah.
really does cause you to level up. I know for me as a speaker, as someone who has coached, as a facilitator,
Yeah.
it helps me to model the behavior because I don't want to stand up in front of people and have that inauthenticity. I want to make sure that I'm being authentic and I'm following through. But I also think having them see it, that level of vulnerability
Mhm.
also makes you a great leader in everything you're doing.
Absolutely. I'll also add to that that having a coach, right, no matter how far along you are in your business, having someone who holds you accountable is just as important. So while I'm mentoring others, I have my own mentors. I have
Mhm.
people above me who
Yeah.
are just looking from a 30,000-foot view, and maybe they're covering my blind spots. And
Mhm.
not only do I have a coach, but I also have women in my life who I consider mentors. And I have
Mhm.
people who I contract out who I find are just, they have really good minds. And so I don't stop at, I know everything. I'm not the expert. And I don't stop at just my peer group. I'm looking at people in other industries to just pour into me and give me perspective and thoughts on ways that I can enhance my business and the level of service I deliver to my clients.
Yeah, I love that. So let's kind of break this down into some, tactical things. If you are sitting there right now, if you are meeting with someone and they're feeling stretched thin, they
Mhm.
don't have all these things in place. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with that first step.
Yes.
Where do you help get people started?
Yeah. The first thing that I like to see them do is write out what they're doing, right?
Mhm.
Let's see, how are you using your time right now?
Yeah.
And I think that's, if you can't take an honest look at that, then there really is, I can tell you 50 things to do and none of them are going to stick. But we need to look at where's your time going today, and then start to time block. Look at, wait, where can we slowly make the changes? It's not a quick fix. And so it's so easy for someone want to change their entire schedule, change
Mhm.
everything. And it really is about doing that first step, right? Taking that one thing that you know that you can do over and over again without causing too much disruption. That's going to give you hopefully the confidence to take the second step and the third
Yeah.
step. So looking at the schedule first and foremost, making sure that there's a clear understanding of what time you can actually give up because it's not productive in one way or another, and then pouring something into that actually is going to move the needle for you.
Yeah. And what I love is you're having them do the self audit. You're not going in there saying your day has to look like this. You're
No.
starting with them doing the analysis because that's so much a part of it is it has to work for them and
Yes.
really, getting them clear. And I love how you talk about, looking at where are you investing your time and looking at time as an investment because you do need to invest time, but what things are being purposeful, which things are not being purposeful. So I think that's a really good lesson. And then, having that adaptability in there,
Mhm.
not every day is going to be perfect. And even though you have the plan, you have to be able to give yourself grace and be able to pivot and
Yeah.
put that in there.
Yeah.
So,
And one of the
yeah.
things I learned was that if you have to move, right, every day is not going to be the same. And there is always going to be something that comes in and disrupts or makes the shift. You have to put that time back in, right? So it's not enough to just say, okay, I've got this hour scheduled for calls. And then something else pops up and now that call day is gone, right? You need to now move, you need to shift it over to some other hour within your day so that you make sure that it still gets done. And I think that's what the trap that a lot of us fall into. We allow whatever the disruptor is to come in, but we don't come back to the thing we had scheduled. And so then
Exactly.
everything just unravels and it's hard to get back on track.
Really well said. So we don't just get rid of it,
Yeah.
we reallocate it, we reschedule it so it's
That's
still
right.
in there and it gives us, but we are in control of that. So, and I always tell people if a disruptor comes up, if something's thrown at you, ask yourself a couple of questions. First and foremost, is it a family or a health issue? Because family and health, first and foremost, always.
Yes.
Then the next one is, if I choose to do this new thing, what is it I'm choosing not to do? And does that make good business sense? So having those kind of checks and balances. And so we're making better business decisions and life decisions too. So I love it.
Absolutely.
Well, Del, I would love to hear from you. You have a lot going on right now. What's kind of next for you? I know that you are building a great real estate business in the San Diego area. What are some things you're working on?
Well, from a business standpoint, just again looking to expand that part of my business. I'm looking at some commercial opportunities, so growing in a different space. I'm primarily a residential real estate agent here in San Diego, but I've had some clients come up with interest regarding some commercial buildings, and so I'm exploring that area. I've partnered with an agent within our brokerage who is basically acting as my mentor for commercial real estate. So exploring that to see where that might take me. I don't think I'll ever leave residential, but just adding another layer into my business. And then personally, just keeping up with my plan to just live, not a stress-free life, because I don't think that that's possible, but just a life that allows me to smile through the pain and just go on this journey with a little bit more lightness than I have in the past. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, Del, I've just enjoyed getting to know you over the last couple of years. You have so much grace, and everything you do is just at a high standard that I admire. And I know that what you are doing every day is impacting the lives of others around you, even your children. So keep doing what you're doing. And I have one final question for you, and that is, sitting where you sit today, learning everything you've learned up to this point in time, how do you define success for yourself?
Yeah. It's such a personal question, I think, right? I feel like I'm sitting in the seat of success right now. I've made, if I look at money, I go, okay, I've made great money over the years. But success to me right now is being happy in what you're doing, being able to give, and not just to other people, but to yourself. And right now, I feel like I'm in the richest phase of my life because I recognize how important I am to the equation of my business and my family and my personal life. So success to me is really being authentic to yourself, recognizing that you are just as important as the clients that you serve, as the families that you serve, both your personal family as well as your future client families, and really just sitting into that and making sure that you don't slip away in the midst of trying to be all of these things. It's not just money. It's the short life that we get to live, and surrounding ourselves with the people who really are going to make a huge difference in our life. So
beautifully said. I mean, on that note, that was just a mic drop moment. And I just think that was beautiful. So Del, thank you so much for sharing time with me today
thank
and
you.
for sharing some of your knowledge and wisdom with our followers and listeners. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Welcome to Clarity in Action. This is the show where we have real conversations that are going to challenge your perspectives and drive real action. So if you are tired of holding back and you're ready to make bold moves, this is the show for you. Join us as we are going to take you from confusion into clarity.